We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Thursday, June 18th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. Also, June's with us.
Good morning, Sujin.
Have you? And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we're now headed toward the end of the work week, and for many of us, that means one thing, that we may be nearing payday. But these days, as cash becomes increasingly rare and digital payments take over, fewer people are actually holding physical money in their hands. Yet, despite the rise of cards and mobile payments, cash hasn't actually disappeared completely. So, Jian, what do you still use cash for if you use them at all?
Not really, not that much. But like other people these days, I rely heavily on my credit card or mobile payments rather than using cash. But having said that, I do use cash from time to time. I prepare cash every single week for church offering. And I also keep some coins for vending machines because my children, they fancy a cup of yulmu, which is a Korean traditional grain drink. And also they love drinking those vending machines hot cocoa. And another occasion is my child's nursery school. They have this bank tour every single week. They go there in order to have in order to learn and develop their saving habits. So they go to the bank. That means he needs cash. So I prepare a small amount of money for him. So in fact, these days I do believe that cash is used so rarely nowadays. Many children probably won't know whose face appears on the banknotes. But that raises an interesting question here. When do children actually come into contact with cash these days? When is it?
I guess when they go to their nursery?
Or pocket money.
Oh.
Yes, when the elderly, usually in Korea, when the elderly sees the children, the grandchildren, they give money, pocket money. So they prefer giving pocket money rather than transferring money by bank. So pocket money at the time. So cash may be fading away, but it's certainly not retired yet.
So there's still a good amount of places where they get exposed to cash, and then they use cash as well. So what about you, Kyle?
I miss receiving pocket money, by the way. Oh my God. So I don't usually carry a lot of cash, but when the weather starts getting chilly, I make sure to have at least 5,000 Korean won in my wallet. To be honest, I hate how freezing Korean winters are, but 붕어빵 is the exact and the only reason why I look forward to the season. So for those watching News Gen who might not know what 붕어빵 is, it's a hot fish-shaped Korean snack that's crispy on the outside and filled with sweet red bean or custard cream on the inside. Super delicious. They're actually sold by street vendors, and most of them don't accept cards. So I love Korean street food so much that I actually carry cash just to buy them. But other than that, I really have a reason to use cash these days. The most annoying part about cash is definitely the change. So since people barely use cash these days, wallets are getting smaller and thinner. You can barely fit like few cards. So when I end up with small bills or coins, I never know where to put them or when I'll ever spend them. So just 4 or 5 coins can make my pocket feel super heavy. The loose bills are easy to lose as well. So personally, I would much rather have my small pennies safely tucked away in my banking app, not in my wallet.
Right, so it's interesting that cash has gone from everyday necessity to something we mostly keep around for special occasions or special snacks. So we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. In an age where you can pay with just a tap of your phone, the importance of carrying cash has steadily declined. But recently, cash has been making a comeback, not as a means of payment, but as merchandise. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at the surprising boom in cash merchandise and explore the stories and symbols hidden in the currency we use every day, and some of the most fascinating facts about money from around the world. Just as we saw in a video, cash may be disappearing from our wallets, but it's finding new life in merchandise. So this is kind of an unexpected trend from my perspective. So why are the young consumers carrying around banknotes again, Jian?
Good question. Yes, as you mentioned, cash, we don't use cash that often, but the thing is, banknotes are reappearing in a rather unexpected way. In Korea, there's even a cushion filled with shredded banknotes inspired by Korean expression sitting on a pile of money cushion, which means becoming wealthy. Or you have money, the money comes to you. And the Korea Minting and Security Printing Cooperation has also found success with a range of money themed merchandise, including pens, calendars, and decorative pile dried Polak containing fragments of real banknotes. Then why dried Polak? Well, dried Polak is traditionally associated with wealth and good fortune in Korea. That's why they have a merchandise with dried Polak. And what makes these items particularly appealing is their symbolism, the meaning they have, because they contain genuine currency. Many people view them as a symbol of prosperity, wealth, good luck, and financial success as well. So it's no surprise that they have been flying off the shelves right now. People love to buy those items. So it seems that even in a cashless society, people still have those money close at hand.
I mean, a cushion filled with this like cash
Shredded,
sounds
yes.
so interesting. I
I
feel like I'm
know.
pretty superstitious, so
Me
I will
too.
be looking into that. And what's even more interesting is that this trend emerged from a challenge facing the Korea Minting and Security Printing Corporation. So, but how did discarded banknotes become such a hit business, Kyle?
So, you might be wondering, why on earth is Korean Minting and Security Printing Corporation going through all the trouble of shredding actual cash just to put it in the, what was it, cushion?
Right.
So, well, this was actually their genius way to solving a huge problem. You see, the paper fragments used in these items are actually production scraps, not an actual cash, including misprints and old banknotes returned to the Bank of Korea. And don't be surprised, the total amount reaches around 500 tons every single year. 500 tons of cash. I can't even imagine how much money that is. Honestly, that should have been my pocket.
Relatable.
What a loss. Anyways, before this, the Korean Minting and Security Printing Corporation was super cautious about recycling these scraps because they were worried that the pieces might leak out and be used for counterfeiting. But they finally turned things around geniusly and also perfectly aligns with today's ESG trends, especially when it comes to eco-friendly recycling, which is exactly why consumers are absolutely loving it. So by doing this, they managed to effectively recycle the waste and at the same time save tons of money that used to go into disposal.
Right, so what used to be a disposal problem has now become a collectible craze. So I do like the irony here, as people use less cash or finding new ways to buy pieces of it. So to get a more personal perspective on this, we're going to talk to someone who has a banknote collection. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
To help us explore the growing popularity of banknote collecting, we're joined today by Woo Jung, a banknote collector. So hello, Jung. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello. So thank you for having me in the studio today.
Thank you for
I'm
coming
a
on.
banknote collector based in Seoul.
Jung, so what kinds of banknotes do you own, and what first you got interested in collecting them?
So when I was a child, I happened to find my father's old wallet inside a wardrobe. And inside there were some old Korean and foreign coins, which looked so different from the money I was using at the time. So this really sparked my curiosity. A short while later, I went to a bank to exchange money for the first time and got a $1 bill. So that was the official start of my collecting life, and surprisingly, I've been collecting for 10 years now. Currently, I have very diverse collection. I started out mostly from European banknotes, but I gradually expanded my scope. So now I own banknotes from all over the world, including Central Asia, where I lived for a while, and South America, Africa, and so on. If I had to choose some few to brag about, so I have this 10,000 Belgian franc banknote, as you see. It's not visible that much. And this 5,000 Slovak koruna note, and Lastly, this 5,000 Austrian shilling note, which were all used before the euro was introduced. Their face value alone is worth more than hundreds of dollars, and since they've been out of circulation for a long time, more than 10 years, they're extremely rare. And by the way, as you see, you can see here the very famous figure who is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Yeah.
That is so cool, by the way. So you're basically sitting in a room full of cash. That sounds like my dream.
Yeah.
So now I'm wondering, so which countries' banknotes are the most popular among collectors, and what special features set Korean banknotes apart?
It's a bit hard to give a definitive answer because every collector has their own criteria, such as someone thinks that rarity is the most beautiful things, or someone thinks the visual beauty is the most popular. However, some banknotes are universally considered dream items for collectors. Well, for example, 25,000 Korean gulden issued in 2000, the pre-Euro Dutch 50 gulden, and the current banknotes of Maldives. Personally, I think the banknotes from the Faroe Island, which is part of Denmark, are absolutely beautiful. As for Korean banknotes, they're renowned for their advanced anti-counterfeiting technology. They're considered some of the hardest bills to counterfeit in the world, thanks to the features like security threads, tactile elements you can actually feel, and watermarks visible in the light, microprint, and UV reactive ink. And another unique feature is that Korean banknote only feature historical figures from the Joseon dynasty. Unlike many foreign banknotes that show modern historical figures or kings from relatively recent history, Korea focuses on more older story. Likely it's due to political or social sensitivities.
You see, by the way, I love your cash collection. They're all neat and clean. Yeah, but what does physical cash symbolize in this digital age?
As everybody knows, the use of physical cash is definitely declining worldwide. In South Korea, the cash payment rate was only around 10% in 2025. In neighboring China, mobile payments like Alipay or WeChat Pay have become a part of daily life. You can even use them at the local markets. In Northern Europe, countries like Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, those countries are actively pushing for a cashless society. However, I believe that banknotes are more than just the methods of payment. They are cultural assets that reflect the nation's history and culture. By looking at the images on the banknote, you can learn about the country's history, culture, prominent figures, and the values of this specific era. Some banknotes are so aesthetically outstanding that someone can say that the banknote itself are works of art. And since money is not just for a specific group, but something shared by everyone in a society, I believe the banknotes can be the most universal form of culture.
Well, you obviously have such an amazing collection, but I think for me personally, what was even more impressive was the knowledge you have about the banknotes that you own. So I personally learned so much from what you've told us today, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So we just spoke with a banknote collector about the appeal of cash collectibles, what sparked his interest in collecting banknotes, and what physical cash still symbolizes in an increasingly digital world. But banknotes aren't just pieces of paper. They can also tell us a lot about a country's identity and values, as our Zoom guest just told us. So what do the people featured on a country's banknotes really represent?
Well, a banknote is not just a collection. I think it's a kind of a treasure that he has right now. So also not a piece of paper. It's a reflection of what a country chooses to remember and celebrate for the future. In other words, they often reflect a nation's identity, values, and historical memories as well. And they are seen by millions, billions of people every single day, and also by tourists visiting their country. The figures chosen for banknotes tend to represent what a country values most. So in many cases, they feature influential figures, political figures, national heroes, monarchs, or cultural icons as well. For example, as you have seen, US dollars feature George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, Chinese yuan feature Mao Zedong, Indian rupees feature Mahatma Gandhi, and Thai banknotes traditionally feature the king. And what's interesting is that some countries have chosen to celebrate scientists, writers, artists as well, recognizing the national achievements come in many different forms. So, for example, the UK has featured figures such as Alan Turing and Jane Austen, celebrating achievements in science and literature as well. In countries, banknotes are like a pocket-sized history book that people can carry around.
I think nowadays we've become kind of almost tired of carrying around cash. It's easy to forget the importance of it, but it is quite fascinating that something we use every day can also serve as a snapshot of a nation's history and ideals. So that brings us to Korea's own banknotes and the faces that we see on them. So our guest kind of touched upon this, but why are Korea's banknotes dominated by figures specifically from the Joseon era?
So great question. Okay, the biggest reason for this is what we call historical consensus. So Korea's modern history is deeply complex, filled with painful chapters like colonial period, the Korean War, and sharp ideological divides and everything. So because of this, picking a figure from recent history can instantly spark heated political debates and social conflicts. So it is too risky for a public medium like currency. On the other hand, these Joseon era figures have been universally respected and studied for centuries. Their achievements in languages, science, and philosophy are completely clear of modern political baggage. So by choosing them, the central bank essentially avoids national drama and uses figures that everyone can agree on as safe, uniting symbols of our national identity.
Right, so it's not just about choosing famous people, it's also about finding figures who can unite rather than divide public opinion. But still, not every choice has unfortunately been free from controversy. So why was the selection of the first woman to appear on a South Korean banknote, which I feel like a lot of people were looking forward to? Why did that spark so much debate?
That's right. We're talking about the 50,000 Korean won that was made back in 2009. It features Shinsa Imdang women and making her the first Korean woman to appear on South Korean banknote. Yes, she's a famous Korean scholar, artist, and the mother of the renowned scholar Yulgok-lee. Yulgok-lee also appears on South Korea's 5,000 note, by the way. Well, this decision was widely welcomed, first of all, because all the figures previously featured on Korean banknotes had been men. So, however, as you mentioned, it has sparked a lot of debate here in Korea. Critics argue that Shinsa Indang image as the ideal wife, the devoted mother, might promote an outdated image, outdated view of women's role in this society. However, supporters pointed out that she was far more than just a mother, not just a devoted mother and a renowned scholar, Yulgok-lee. She was also an accomplished artist, writer, and calligrapher of her own right, whose work continues to be admired these days as well. There are lots of exhibitions about her work. So in many ways, the debate wasn't really about Shinsa Imdang herself. It was about what modern society, modern world chooses to celebrate and what they value. So after all, deciding who belongs on a banknote is really just about the past, the history. It's about the values we want to carry into our future, what the educational background as well. So a banknote may be small, but the debate behind it can be surprisingly large.
Right. So it's interesting how a single banknote can spark a broader conversation about history, gender, and values that society wants to promote. And beyond the people featured on them, there are plenty of surprising stories hidden in banknotes around the world. So what are some of the interesting banknotes from around the world that you want to share with us?
One interesting example is from Sweden. After reading this article, it was so amazing to find the truth. Well, when Sweden redesigned its banknotes in the early 2010s, it consulted the public on which figures should be featured. They actually had a survey, in fact. Well, as a result, the new notes included a remarkably diverse groups of people, ranging from authors and magicians to actors and film directors. For example, they featured Astrid Lindgren, the creator of Pippi Longstocking, alongside some of Sweden's most beloved cultural figures. As you can see, Lindgren appears on Sweden's purple banknotes, so quite beautiful. And also the designers also paid close attention to gender balance, ensuring that both men and women were represented on the new banknotes equally. And even the reverse side of each note was carefully designed to reflect the person's life, their achievements, or connection to a particular place, the venue. So it's kind of a reminder that banknotes don't just reflect the country's history, they also reflect what a nation chooses to celebrate. After all, a banknote can be a tiny museum that fits in your pocket.
And I love the idea. Some countries have turned their banknotes into a celebration of artists, actors, and cultural icons rather than just political or historical figures. But surprisingly, people aren't the only stars appearing on currency. So is it true that some countries are featuring animals on their money?
So I found it really interesting about this. So there are actually quite a few countries that do this, and the examples are beautiful as well. The classic one is South Africa. Their banknotes are incredibly unique because they feature the portrait of Nelson Mandela on the front and the famous Big Five safari animals like rhino, elephant, lion, leopard, and buffalo on the back. So it beautifully honors both their political history and wildlife heritage. And also Central American countries like Costa Rica, Brazil have some of the most colorful cash in the world. Their banknotes are basically a tribute to their rich biodiversity, featuring creatures like the monkey, the sloth, the jaguar, and so on. So these countries deliberately chose native animals that often endangered or completely unique to their land. It's their way to showing the world that this incredible nature is who we are as well, and we need to protect it.
And that, I think, is an incredible way to highlight national identity while also raising awareness about wildlife conservation. And as we've seen, banknotes can reveal far more than just a country's economy. So we also want to hear directly from our viewers. So we ran a poll on the IDN News YouTube channel asking, what would you like to see on a banknote? And here's what the results showed. So a majority, 59%, said they would prefer respected historical figures, while 30% chose symbolic animals. Another 11% said they would like to see sports stars or celebrities who have brought pride to the nation. So it looks like most people still prefer tradition when it comes to the faces on their money. So historical figures remain the clear favorite, but there is still also strong support for showcasing wildlife and also national heritage. Whether it's historical figures, cultural icons, or symbolic animals, banknotes clearly mean more to us than just money. So after today's discussion, Kyle, has your view on banknotes kind of changed?
Yeah, it was quite fascinating how countries use their banknotes as a form of national branding. So it feels like you can actually read the specific message that country is trying to send it to its users and to the world. So there are probably so many hidden meanings in Korean and US bills I use without a second thought every day, and stories that I've missed. So I'm definitely going to pay closer attention to them from now on.
Right, so what about you, Chia?
Me too, and that's actually changed a lot of view because there's a pocket-sized history book indeed. So next time, whenever I travel abroad, I see a new banknote, I'll probably pay close attention and know the history and study about the history and the values the country chose. So banknotes may be worth reading before spending.
Right, well said. So cash may be disappearing from our wallets, but it's clearly not disappearing from our culture. From collectibles to the stories hidden in banknotes, physical money still carries meaning far beyond its face value. And even in a digital age, it seems some things are simply worth holding on to. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. My News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Kyle.
Thank you so much for having me.
Also Chia.
Thank you for having me as well.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you'll only be short on cash and not what's in your bank account. We are News
Generation.